Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking today's video out. Guys, today is almost November, so we're going to be talking about the 5 best lures you can fish in the month of November that a lot of people don't fish. I mean, a lot of the YouTubers are going to do these videos about the best lures in November, and we sort of all know what they are, but I want to give you 5 specific lures that don't get a lot of attention, that I catch a bunch of fish on all through the month of November. So we're going to get that, and we're going to get into that in today's video. Much appreciated. And also, guys, if you saw the video I did yesterday, you guys know that I'm now working with Tackle Warehouse as an affiliate. So if you guys are interested in getting any of these lures here, I'll have my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. And if you use that specific link, it's a good way to support the channel here. So much appreciated with that. Okay guys, let's get into this right off the bat. We're going to talk about the 5 lures I catch a bunch of fish on that I just don't see anyone talking about or fishing about too much. So first one, guys, is a floating worm. You would not think about it, but guys, some of the best days I have ever had has been on a floating worm. This is just a Zoom chartreuse floating worm here. It's been around forever. There's something about it when that water temperature starts to get between like 55 and 65 degrees in November. Guys, I catch a ton of fish on this. Most people put them away in the spring. They can think of floating worm as like an April lure and then they never fish it again. But I actually did win the Megavex tournament in late October at Lake Murray, even though it doesn't show it in the results. I had the most weight for 4 days, but it was a cut thing, so I didn't win because it was a top 10 elimination. But every fish I caught in that tournament was on a floating worm. I've done real good in a Bassmaster Top 150 in November at Lake Lanier. I did good in one at Lake Martin in Alabama in November. It's a really good lure to fish it around, and just fish it around any shallow cover. It's like if you have water visibility of anything over about 2.5 feet and you're just going down the bank, fishing around lay down stumps, rocks, docks, whatever, throw that floating worm out there, try to keep it maybe 4 to 6 inches underneath the water, and they will bite it. Second, guys, I'll talk about is a giant jerkbait like this Megabass Canada. This is a 7-inch jerkbait. We talked about a little bit past on the channel. But guys, there's a window in October and November where this thing just slams the fish out there. And it doesn't last very long because as that water temperature cools down, sort of below 55 degrees, they stop biting it. But as long as you got water temperatures, you know, upper 50s to upper 60s in the lake you're fishing, which happens a lot in November. What I do with this big giant Canada, guys, again, 7 inches long, I get out there on any type of bluff bank. That's the whole key with this in November is you got to fish bluffs or steep channel banks with it. And you need water visibility of at least 3 feet. So if you've got some channel banks, bluffs, 3 foot of visibility, get out there and parallel those bluffs and just fish it with just a slow twitch, pause, you know, retrieve. Specifically on those days where it's like windy and cloudy. That's when it really works good. South wind is even better, but I catch a bunch of them on that Megabass Canada in November. Next one, guys, is this is a Jewel scope spin, and it is not for live scoping the way I'm using it. Guys, this little Jewel scope spin, this has been out for a couple of years. Actually, Johnny Schultz gave me this a couple of years ago. This is an excellent lure in November, guys, for burning the spinnerbait shallow. You guys know I don't live scope, so you don't get thrown off by it being called a scope spin. But this little shaddy looking small spinnerbait, what I do is I get out there on those November days where it's real windy and, you know, hopefully windy, cloudy conditions. And it's the same deal with the floating worm. I just burn the banks with this thing, keep that rod tip high, try to keep it an inch or 2 into the surface, just burning it. And this little bitty shad spinnerbait, guys, the last 2 Novembers, I caught a lot of fish on it. And it's really good on those windy days out there. If you don't have wind and some type of shade or low light, you're not going to catch much on it. It's usually really good the first 2 or 3 hours in the morning, and then they don't bite it very good. But guys, something you might want to try that Pete Fish don't see, the Jewel scope spin right here. And the fourth one is right along with that. And this is another spinnerbait a lot of people don't. November is a great spinnerbait month, by the way. And this is another spinnerbait that's off the radar, is the Megabass SV3. Guys, this is my favorite fall time spinnerbait. It's got the little fish head design on it. It's got 2 small willow leaf blades. And I fish it the same situation in the same way that I would fish the scope spin here. You know, I just burn the banks with it, cover shallow water. It's better on lakes that have like a a mix of rock in it. If you have a lake that has like everything from like pea gravel, basketball size, baseball size rock, bluffs, that type of stuff, rocky lakes are better for the most part, where you have some type of rock or rock transition. And again, you have those cloudy or windy days early in the morning. Take either the dual scope spin or the Bass SV3 spinnerbait, put it on. I put them both on like 15 to 17 pound test, Seaguar and Vizx line, and just burn the bank with it. Try to keep them in sight. That's the whole key. If you let those two spinnerbaits get over like 6 or 8 inches under the water, you're not going to catch much on them. You have to keep them in sight, 1 to 4 inches under the water. Don't break the blades with the surface, but just under the water. And it's such a fun way to catch them. One of the biggest bass I ever caught in a tournament was in November at Lake Lanier it wasn't the SV3, this was a long time ago, but it was a spinnerbait just like it. Caught an 814 in a Bassmaster Top 150 tournament at Lake Lanier, on that same technique that I was talking about. And finally, the fifth one, guys, is a little bitty 1/4 ounce rattle trap. Little bitty small one like this, and I prefer gold with a black back on it. I can't tell you what it is, but there's something about it in November when you have a little bit off-colored water. Say you've got some areas that have water visibility, like sort of that 1.5 to 2.5 foot zone, and you have flatter banks with rock on it. Guys, I catch a ton of fish in November on not the 1/2 ounce, but the little bitty 1/4 ounce rattle trap here. I mean, something about it just works really good. Again, there's something about the gold with the black back that outproduces any other color. But if you get another one of those days where it's a little bit windy out there, a little bit off-colored water temperatures 55 to 65 degrees, I've caught a ton of fish on that little rattle trap. And another thing about this little rattle trap, guys, it's a really good bait to throw if you have bright conditions, or maybe after a cold front went through. I'll tell you how I got on it. I was fishing a Bassmaster Top 100 tournament years ago down at Lake Martin in Alabama, and I was catching them flipping a jig and throwing a bigger spinnerbait, but we had a bad cold front come through the second day of the tournament. I mean, it was one of those deals where it went from 80 degrees down to 45, and the wind was blowing 20 out of the north, and I couldn't catch a fish flipping or on that spinnerbait. And I picked up this little 1/4 ounce rattle trap and started fishing the same water and caught like 2 limits of fish in that tournament. That second day, I wound up finishing good in the tournament. So anyway, guys, that's my 5. Again, the Zoom Floating Worm, Louis Chartreuse, Bass Canada Jerkbait, Bass SV3 Spinnerbait, Jewel Scope Spin for not live scoping but fishing shallow, and a 1/4 ounce rattle trap. And again, guys, I'll put the Tackle Warehouse link in the description if you guys would use those as help out. And also, please check out our fall lake map breakdowns with fishthemoment.com. I'll put that link in the description too, and get you some good fall fishing spots. So hope it helps out. We'll talk later.